it's a hurricane, it's over before you know it. While you're shaking, we're a dynasty in the making. We're the royalty, now we're breaking down the enemy. Move over for the soldiers. Take a swing, I can take a hit. If we die, it's fine, we live for this. It's all for this. We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky. Gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights. For the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight. Hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high. For the glory, we do it for the glory. Yeah, we've waited for our time to come, calculated everything we've done, we've upgraded. Now you can't outrun a champion. Now you're facing one. Can you hear them? Yeah, it's all for us. You believe them? Yeah, it's serious. Hear the siren. We're victorious. I'm telling you. Can I get a hell yeah? Take a swing, I can take a hit. If we die, it's fine, we live for this. It's all for this. We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky. Gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights. For the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight. Hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high. For the glory, we do it for the glory. You're the chaser, I'm the eraser. I ruin your record, I'm back here to break ya. I cut like a razor, so call the trophy engraver. I'm gonna get it, wait till I win it. God, I'm so glad to be in it. Can't wait to see that we did it.
Hello everybody, and welcome in. Everybody is popping in here. Are we ready for a race tonight? Good evening, and hello to the 24 Hours of Spa. Hello to our racers. Hello to our fans. Welcome in from the International Racing Organization. This is the final round here today, and this is going to be a very tough round of racing for our championship contenders and the rest of the teams in the field, trying to earn every point they can to try and grab one more position in the overall standings. Qualifying was pretty intense yesterday, and our grid is set. So let's go take a quick look at who we have here as our formation lap is getting underway to take the green flag start here. So it is Macho Monkey taking pole position here today for, I believe, Sector 7. We have Jown for ORT here as well, starting in second place in behind. We have Slipstream starting in third place in the RS01, which should handle the wet conditions here at the start of this race very well. We've got Blue Racer in Race Asylum 2, I think this is. I'll have to verify my driver's list here in a moment, but looking good. Cars are looking good. The track, not so much, but the fans are stacked in and they're not scared of the rain. The drivers aren't scared of the rain. The teams are ready. And 24 hours from now, we're going to see a checkered flag. We're going to crown some champions. And that's going to be the end of our 2024 season here, unfortunately. But welcome in. And I'm your host here for a large part of today, GT45 Gaming. And I'm going to hang out with everybody here to start things off today. We've got Lucas in 5th place here from one of the ERA racing teams here as well. I believe number 2. We have our lad, Mr. SBS in 6th. We've got ERA's Adriano in 7th. We have some liveries potentially not popping up here. We've got ERA's Nick here in 8th place as well. We've got MRL's Shane in the other BMW here in 9th. We've got Jack So It Is starting off here in 10th place. We've got Finalized in the McLaren here in 11th place. We've got Shadow Chef in 12th place. We've got Mad Daz here in 13th position, and we got Banana Josh here in 14th, and we're not getting a whole lot of livery love here from the game today, I could see. Yeah, I see that, Richard. I see that. We'll get things underway. We'll let the race get settled down, and then we'll pop out and we'll pop back in real quick and see if we can fix that. But unfortunately, there may not be much we can do about that now without leaving the lobby, most likely. And all of our teams have made it here in the finale this season as well. So we're coming into the final chicane here. And once we get around this final chicane, I believe that is going to be our start zone. And then the race leader may be able to, or are we doing the 24-hour here? I'm not sure. I haven't been quite up to speed on which layout we're starting from here. It looks like we're going to be doing the 24-hour layout start up here, so we should see the driver start to line up. We'll go around what would be turn number 1 once we get underway here, La Source, and then after La Source, I believe the starting zone will be about just midway down that straightaway, heading into Eau Rouge and La Radion. So we're going to have some potential side-by-side action heading up the hill here to start our race off. So the BMW, our pole sitter, will lead things off, and we are waiting for him now to start this race. So when the leader takes off, we are going to go green and the games begin. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kick them tires, light them fires. We're going endurance racing. And we are green, we're green. The race leader has started there. We got a great jump there from 3rd place. Potential maybe jump there. We'll have to leave that with race officials. Very, very close there. But we got Moncho Monkey taking off there very quickly, opening up a very immediate 1 second gap there. We got Slipstream jumping up into 2nd position there. And Jown in 3rd place there. ERA Blue Racer putting some pressure on there in that GTR. And we're going to see a battle here coming into... Oh, I can't remember the track name right offhand here. It's too early in the morning. It's 5 a.m. here for me, so bear with me. My brain will wake up. Lacombe, I believe that is. Anyways, Lucas here still in 5th place in the Lexus here as well. We've got Nick in 6th position here, and he's seeing a little bit of pressure from Mr. SBS here as well. So we're just going to stick with the top half of the field here real quick. We got a nice little side-by-side battle coming through the hairpin here. Brussels heading into the left-hander, heading in towards Puhan here. And it looks like all 15 drivers here are all still squared away. We're in a nice tight line. Great racing start here from these drivers today in the very wet conditions. This is why these guys are the pros. That's why these guys are the pros. Let's get that game audio up. All right, Slipstream here in 2nd place. He's got 2 second gap immediately here to Macho Monkey in the race lead. Started on pole position, got a nice clean whole shot start there. We got Jown in 3rd place. He's holding off the charge from Blue Racer there very early on. He got a little bit racy there into the first set of corners there, but it looks like everybody's starting to kind of settle in line here. Get a feel for these track conditions and decide where it's safe to push or maybe not push at all. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. We've got Lucas here in 5th position. One of our ERA teams here, or one of our RA teams, sorry, pardon me, from Race Asylum. We've got ERA Adriano here as well, and I believe they're the ERA team. We've got Nick here in 8th position. And he's feeling all kinds of pressure here. We got 6 cars all nose to tail here as we head into the chicane here for the first time officially here at Spa today for IRO. And oh, we got a McLaren that shot a little bit wide there. We're 3 wide as we head into the second part of the chicane. A little bit of door banging happening there through the corners, but it looks like everybody's going to get through safe and sound. And it is just a mess of cars here now as we head into La Source for the first time at speed in these wet conditions. And it looks like our leaders here got through safe and sound. A little bit of an accordion effect there. Lucas in 5th place. He's feeling some pressure from Adriano in behind there. And Mr. SBS does get around Nick there. Nick a little bit behind there, so maybe just a little bit of contact there. We probably should have stuck with that, but my bad. All right, let's sit right in the middle here. Let's start in 4th place here. We'll just try to keep an eye on some of these battles we've got going on here around the racetrack right now because there is plenty of them happening. It's early race. Guys are going to try and jockey for early position here. Let's head back to this battle in 5th and 6th. There's Adriano finds his way around. Lucas coming into Lacombe there. Of course, this is a great passing zone here on the racetrack as well. You're heading up to Kemmel Street. You're at full speed. You get inside position coming into Lacombe. And if you get the job done in the first apex, it's easy peasy. But it does allow the defending driver, if he can hold it on the outside of that first apex, to give him the inside position for the next apex. So it's a good battling spot on the racetrack here. And we're going to see many pass attempts made there through this 24 hours here. Alright, so things have settled down, looks like, here for this battle. Let's just keep our eye in through the field. Mr. SBS and Nick here in 7th and 8th place. That position changed into La Source there on what would be our second lap of the race officially. We have Mad Daz here in 10th place, and now that we can see some of the liveries, I mean, they look amazing as always. I do apologize that we can't see all of the hard work from the painters here, but hopefully in our next stint all that will show up on our screens. We've got Banana Josh in 11th place here in a McLaren, and we should suspect that the McLaren should be a little advantageous here right now in these conditions. These MR, or the mid-rear engine cars, typically do very well in wet conditions, and you can see him get it done there on Shadow Chef, getting the pass made here as we head into Brussels. And oof, you can see that Corvette struggling just a little bit here in the wet conditions, but he's hanging in there. He's still tucked in behind Finalize taking a position on Jack, so it is. And then we got Shadow here still hanging tough here in 14th position, and another Corvette driver here. So the Corvette's struggling a little bit here right now early on in the race under these wet conditions. And the moisture meter here on the racetrack is at 66% rain moisture on the racetrack here today. Now, obviously, it's very late technically, and it's winter time at Spa here. So it's going to be a very wet day here today. Of course, we'll see some drying conditions at times, I believe, throughout our 24-hour event here. But the racers are definitely going to be in a race of attrition for the next 24 hours. So stint 1 is always very racy for the first little bit, and then the drivers are going to start to settle their way out, and then it's going to come down to which drivers remain consistent, which teams make the least amount of mistakes under these wet conditions. We got Blue Racer getting that job done there on Slipstream, and we're just going to see if there's a response from Slipstream here as they head up Eau Rouge and Loration. There is not. So let's go take a little look at that pass made by Blue Racer here. And just coming out of La Source there, he gets a really good exit, gets to power down really good there in that GTR. And GTR outdrives that Renault down the straight, and again, another great passing opportunity heading into Rouge and Loration there. So textbook passing here so far early on in this 24 hours of Spa here, presented by International Racing Organization. So welcome in, everybody. Hope we're doing fantastic. Hope we're having a good afternoon, evening, or morning, depending where it is that you're viewing from here today. We got Lucas starting to put a little bit of pressure here now on Slipstream here, and Slipstream falling down the order just a tiny little bit here right now, and that kind of surprises me. I did expect that Renault to be very strong here in the rain, and knowing that the drivers behind the wheel of that Renault, myself as well, they're very strong teams, so they showed very good pace at Suzuka in the wet conditions a couple of months ago, but seem to be struggling just a tiny little bit in the early goings here to the big motor cars, as I like to call it, the big front engine rear wheel drive cars, the BMWs, the Lexuses, the Vets, and we've lost one of our drivers here on lap 4 at the 10-minute 18-second mark. Shadow Chef seems to have disconnected from the lobby, so one of our Corvettes is in behind pit wall currently, getting assessed. So something must have happened on the racetrack there, and hopefully that team can get to work on that car, and we'll see them back out in a couple hours. Game can be a bit louder. 10-4. I'll see what I can do here. Alright, just bear with me here. We'll deal with the game audio in just a moment. Thank you for the heads up. It's been a little while since we streamed here, so I'm not surprised that we have to make some adjustments. So Blue Racer here has found his way up into the race lead here. So Blue Racer is having a great race start here, all the way from 4th place up into the race lead here, now on a lap 4 technically, getting ahead of Jown there. So I'm assuming there was a mistake made somewhere in the chicane here, potentially between Monkey and Jown, the 2 BMWs, and that allowed Blue Racer to get ahead of both of those racers potentially here. It's definitely too late to catch that on a replay, unfortunately, but that's just speculation, but that's what it appears like here. So Blue Racer now has the lead of our final race of the season here, but we got a juicy battle happening here in behind with Nick and Adriano here, and we're going to just mark that and go take a second look at that here, as a nice battle there with Lucas and Mr. SBS there as well. So Mr. SBS has gotten around Lucas. Adriano has also gotten ahead of Lucas there, and as drivers are making small mistakes, I'm assuming right now with how close these drivers are around this very wet racetrack, other drivers that are getting good exits or just getting good corners are taking advantage of those small mistakes and grabbing up those positions while they can here. So very tight racing very early on here. We got our top 3 grouped up a little bit there, and then we've got this pack in the middle that consists of about 9 cars within a second apart from each other here, and then just a couple in behind, but we definitely have a little bit of lag coming from our Sector 7 racing team here on my POV, and we got Nick's going to take a look up the inside through Poo on here, but the Renault just holds the corner strong on the outside there. That was a great hold there by Slipstream, and Nick is trying to find his way around here. He's going to go on the outside. There might have been a little bit of contact there. As you can see, Nick's going to go wide there. He's going to lose the position to Adriano there as well. Now he's under pressure from Lucas 36 here, and Nick just defending that line there. Just had enough to get his car into position there. Lucas just not quite able to get to position there, and he's just going to settle back in. Look at that train of cars in the mid-pack here. What a battle we have going on here in the early goings of this race. So it is the Renault here trying to get away, and the BMW, Adriano makes a mistake. Nick is under full power there with full traction. He's going to take advantage, and he's going to leapfrog ahead of the BMW here now as we head into Blanchimont here. So some great racing here in the mid-pack very early on in this race. And we got a battle up front here now as well, and my goodness, there's things happening everywhere here, and we're going to go take another look at that as well here. Blue Racer defending the position here, it appears, from Jown. Let's go take a quick look at that here and then get back to that mid-pack battle. There's a lot going on here. I believe this was an attempt pass or maybe just an under-braking situation here. No. I just caught it and made it look like there was a battle going on there. All right, back to the mid-pack. So Nick still looking to try and get around Slipstream here. So got back ahead of Adriano, now trying to track down the RS01 ahead of him here of the Sector 7 racing team, and closing the gap very quickly here. 4/10 of a second. The Corvette being very strong in a straight line, obviously, here as well. So should gain the advantage up to Kemmel Straight here. Gets a huge run up already on you. There he goes. You can see him pull up on the outside. By the time they get to the end of this Kemmel Straight here, he should have that position on the Renault. The Renault's not going to be able to do much to defend here, but tuck right back in behind. Nick is going to go semi-defensive into the corner entry here as we head into Lacombe. And it is a good battle happening here between these 3 right now. Adriano's now closed the door in on Slipstream here a little bit as well. And Slipstream, boy, is just under fire here right now. As far up as starting a race in 2nd place and currently sitting in 5th place here, now under pressure from our 6th place driver Adriano, and a little bit of a slide coming into the braking zone there from Slipstream. And a great battle happening here in the mid-pack. As soon as things settle down, I'll fix the game audio. I got to go into my PlayStation settings to get it to go up some more, so I do apologize. Alright, so keeping an eye on things here. We got Lucas starting to close in on this as well. So as the drivers start to get tucked in nice and tight like this, and they start to have small little battles or little jostles for turn-in position and things like that through these corners, it allows the drivers that are chasing and behind in clean air or semi-clean air to close the gap. And you can see we got little packs developing here everywhere. We got Mr. SBS losing that position back to Lucas at some point there, and he's got 2 McLarens on the chase here as well. So, and you can see the conditions are just not easy to deal with here right now. You can see these cars are twitching, they're sliding, the back ends are coming out under braking, and Nick makes a mistake. He comes across the racetrack, and if it wasn't for the fact that he was ghosted right there, he probably would have collected up the pack. So that is really unfortunate there for Nick, and I think that was just a moment in the rain there. I'm trying to find him here on the list so we can go take another look, but it's going to be too late by the time I find him. So ERA's Nick there is on the back foot here now. He gets himself back around. He does not take damage, so he does a great job to keep the car on track, and he's got 5 seconds now to make up here in 13th position, so definitely not ideal there for Nick, and making a mistake on the racetrack, spinning that Corvette around and going from the battle for 4th place all the way down to 13th position there, and that is not what we want to see. The comeback is on, says Ray. Alright, so we got John still tracing Blue Racer. Blue Racer has been doing a pretty good job at trying to open a gap on the ORT racing team here. And he's got it up to 1.4 seconds here right now. So he's doing a pretty good job here. The GTR seems to be handling the rain here at Spa very well. Or at least the current driver behind the wheel of that GTR. Anyways, we got our pole sitter, Macho Monkey here, currently sitting in 3rd place. He lost that race lead fairly early on, but he's just chilling here right now. He's got 7.9 seconds to 1st and 2nd place, so maybe just not quite on point here in this early stint. It's a very early race. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, 24 hours of racing is about to ensue. We are only 17 minutes into those 24 hours. This is going to be a long race. You're not going to win it here in the first 2 hours. We're not going to win it 12 hours from now. The only driver that's going to win this race is the one that takes it, the checkered flag, first 24 hours from now. So a lot of this is just maintaining pace with the pack you're in, and if you're ahead of that pack, try to close in the pack ahead. If you're the leader, you're trying to open a gap, maintain that pace. But right now for these guys, it's just kind of staying with the pack, jostling for positions, and a little bit of a touch there from Adriano to get around the Renault of Slipstream, and now Lucas is going to try and take advantage of that and get up the inside of Adriano. Adriano gets a little bit wide on the corner there, a little bit compromised. It's very wet out there, and we're still side by side as we head into campus here, and Lucas is going to get a good run on the outside, and that BMW is just having all kinds of trouble to get the traction down. Now we got Slipstream re-attacking back here in the Renault, and this battle is heating up. We got a 2x2 battle in behind there. We got 2 McLaren side by side and behind Mr. SBS there as well. There was a lot going on. We got the GTR now involved in this battle. Now let's take a little bit of a jump back into the field here. We're trying to keep our eye on the whole pack here is what we're trying to do. The cameraman is doing his best job he can here. There's a lot going on. So Mr. SBS is under fire here right now from Daz. Daz is going to get up in beside here, and now we're side by side, and that GTR just gets a good run there on the Mercedes, but shoots extremely wide as he goes through Blochemont. That's probably going to pick himself up a nice little juicy penalty there from track officials as well, but we'll see. They are battling there, and there's just a lot going on there. They may just let him slide. We're 3 wide now as we come through the second part of the chicane. Contact there with the GTR and the McLaren. That's going to push Mr. SPS out wide. He's going to go floating all the way down into 12th position, and Nick is going to tuck right back in. So things are getting spicy here at Spa, and Nick is going to take advantage. He's going to try and get some positions here, and he's going to get a twofer there into La Source. He gets up the inside of Mr. SPS, gets a good run under braking on the GTR. 2 positions gained here by Nick, and from 13th to 11th as he continues to try and charge back up the field here. And we've seen Nick have that happen a couple of times here. Just small little mistake, cost him positions, and he gets to charge back up. But the Corvette he's chasing in front, very equally matched car, obviously. So, but a big slide there as that comes up around Laradion, and that allows Nick to get a run, and Nick grabs another quick position up into 10th place here. Now he is on the backside of Jack in MRL, and he's just going to absolutely just say, no, I'm taking that too, mate, on the outside. Only enough room for him to get his car in there, and he is going to get the job done. And in about 45 seconds time here, Nick picks himself up 4 positions on track up into 9th position, and now it's the McLarens. All right. Whew. All right. We got Jown now in the race lead, so we just had a potential battle for the race lead here. Let's go see if we can catch that. But there is a penalty there for Jown, so we can catch that. Blue Racer goes a little bit wide there. Lexus takes advantage. He moves up on the outside there. He gets the job done. Easy peasy, but he is carrying a half-second penalty, so that's most likely going to give the position back to Real Racer once he serves that penalty. But for the time being, Jown has moved himself up into the race lead here, and ORT now leads this race. So we've had 2 lead changes and 3 different race leaders here very early on in this 24 hours. Macho Monkey 13 seconds back, starting to lose pace a little bit with those front 2. So the front 2 have done exactly what you want to do when you're in the lead of this race, or the chase, or the leading pack. Break free, open the gap. make that race between 1 or 2 cars instead of 14 cars. So that's exactly what we see right now. Luke is now starting to gain some position. Started the race in 5th place, now up into 4th place here. He's really a little bit of pressure from that mid-pack there, and he's in clean air, 3.7 seconds to Macho and 3 seconds away from that pack. Adriano here has kind of broken free a little bit there as well now, and he is starting to try and close back in on Lucas as we head through Below Chamon there, and we're starting to see the race settle down a little bit here now as that mid-pack battle has calmed itself down, and we see Nick up a couple more spots here. We got Banana Josh here in 6th place. We've got Nick now up into 7th position. Slipstream down into 8th position, so Slipstream struggling a little bit here in this early stint. Finalized in 9th place with MRL Shane here in 10th. We got Mr. SBS here in 11th position. We've got Jack from I can't remember what team that is. I believe that's AHR, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. And then Mad Daz here in 13th position in the other GTR, back down into 13th. So we've had some cars drop in big positions just from those mistakes. No one using the wet racing line by the looks of it. No, it doesn't seem to be. Which is an interesting catch, actually. That's a good call, James. You can see the rain is still coming down, 66% moisture here right now, currently on the racetrack based off of the game moisture meter. And Blue Racer does get that race lead back from Jown with that penalty served, which we did suspect. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for the clarification, James. I don't have the driver sheets or anything in front of me here yet. I have a small technical difficulty getting live this morning and got live about 10 minutes later than I wanted to, so my apologies to the viewers. And we'll get that sound sorted shortly. As soon as things calm down, we'll flip a screen real quick, change the sound a little bit for you guys, get some better game volume, and yeah, continue on our journey here. Side-by-side battle here between Jown and Blue Racer, and this is great for the chasing pack in behind right now, because the more that these two continue to go side-by-side here in these wet conditions should allow that pack, which is now settled down, to close a little bit of that time gap back up. Now, it was about 14 seconds the last time we checked. We'll check on this here after we sit with this battle, but both these guys coming around the corner sideways. That BMW is doing everything he can just to keep the car underneath of him here right now. He had 3 or 4 attempts at the car snapping on him there, manages to gather it back up, and that's going to cost him about 3 or 4 tenths of a second to the race leader there in this battle, and that should relieve just enough pressure here from Blue Racer coming into the chicane. He shouldn't have to worry about defending here. He could take his preferred line in the wet condition, but you can see that BMW really closing in under the braking, and we've seen that a couple times here now into this final chicane. The ORT Lexus, pardon me, is just been better under braking than that GTR. Now, it could be tire compound choice. We do have the heavy wet tires here on our race leader, and ooh, that was a big move right there up the inside. Takes a bold run up there, blows Lusaurus wide, and Blue Racer is just going to come right back underneath and take that race lead back. So again, just trying to use the fact that Jown appears to be better on the braking than Blue Racer currently on the racetrack, but that one seemed a little ambitious. I don't think that one was going to work. So he tucks back in. He's going to re-engage this battle again. Lexus, I know. Lexus, I know. I keep saying BMW. So Blue Racer here is in a battle for his life here right now. So let's see what this gap is. It's 14.7 seconds. So the gap hasn't changed too much to 3rd place as these two have been battling. So it just goes to show that the pace of Blue Racer and Jown currently is just a step above the rest of the field at the moment. All right. You can see the track now starting to dry. You can see that very defined line starting to set back into the racetrack. You can still tell it is very wet on the edges of that drying line, but the racetrack now starting to change. Looks like the rain has subsided for the time being, and the track is starting to dry. So the drivers still obviously need to be very cautious, but they also need to be a lot smart now, because again, drivers are on rain tires. There's 2 different types of rain tires drivers could be using, the heavy wets or the intermediates, and those tires now without water covering the racetrack are going to start to wear down very quickly. Now, if you're on a heavy wet tire, that tire is going to wear down much quicker than the racing intermediate tire, which is just a slightly harder compound of rain tire. and it's a little bit of a combination of a rain tire versus racing tire, where the heavy wet tire is just a straight wet tire, but the rubber compounds on these tires are very, very soft. In real life, if you were to walk up to a heavy wet racing tire, say for a Formula 1 car, since that kind of seems to be the example everybody likes to use in the sim racing world, you could push that tire with your thumb, and you would literally leave a thumb press into the tire, and then the tire would like sponge back. They are super, super soft, extremely soft. All right, so we do see pits coming in from our race leaders, and this may be a good time to do the transition here. So I am going to flip a screen, bear with, and we're just going to throw something up here real quick, just so I don't have to show a bunch of useless stuff. Little map of our track here, and right back to the live action. Alright, so we did have some drivers decide to hang it out for a little while longer here. So we do have Jack here now in the race lead, as they has not pit. We have Mr. SBS and Slipstream also deciding not to pit here. So we do have 3 cars that decided to go at least another lap around. Now, is this again to try and gain some track position, or maybe are they opting to stick it out for a couple more laps here? Maybe they're not quite comfortable with being out on the track, potentially on a racing slick in these conditions. But we got Jown and ERA Racer immediately coming out of pit lane, and it is battle right back on. So we're going to sit here right here, and we're going to hang out with these two, and side by side as we head into Lacombe here. And keeping in mind now, if the drivers choose to go to racing slicks, the outside edges of this racetrack are very slippery. They are very wet still. The curbing, the rumble strips, the grass is going to be extremely wet, and if you dip a racing tire, racing slick tire into those conditions at the wrong moment under the wrong input of these cars, it's going to be a very bad day. So these drivers need to be very cautious where they place our race cars here for a little while till we start to see the track dry on a wider basis. So they do have a defined line, and we see those drivers very, very religiously sticking to that line currently here right now. Alright, so now we're going to start to take the rain out of play here, and things are about to get interesting. So Blue Racer and Jown here now currently are 4th and 5th place drivers here as it stands, but as the track is starting to dry out, we have seen Mr. SBS, Jack, and Slipstream remain out and not pit to change tires. So they currently are holding the top 3 positions, but I do suspect that we're going to see them pit here in the next couple laps, and we'll be right back to these two for the race lead. But we're seeing a little separation between them here right now. Alright, so Macho here in 6th place now has a drying racetrack. Was definitely struggling a little bit in the wet conditions. Clearly not that bad. Was holding 3rd place down quite well. But maybe an opportunity now for Macho to try and close that gap up a little bit. You can see Mr. SBS and Jack now coming into pit lane to get off of what they were on there. And as everybody can see it on the screen themselves, it was some intermediate racing tires there. So they should siphon back down towards the end of the mid-pack there, I believe is where those drivers were located when everybody decided to make their pit stops. We got Banana Josh here in 8th place. We got finalized in 9th. The 2 McLarens on track here are and have been basically nose to tail since the start of the race, since things kind of sorted themselves out in the first couple laps. We've got Emerella Shane in 10th position here and 8th position now. I love it when the pit stops change where I'm trying to go. And we can see that car. So again, another great looking livery here from our painters and all the hard workers in behind the paddocks. And you can see Mr. SBS is going to end up coming out. Looks like it'd be in 10th place there. And we got a nice little juicy battle here between Daz and Shane here right now. So let's stick with this as well. Battles are always great to see. We got a battle between the 2 McLarens up ahead there as well. And Finalized gets the job done on Banana Josh there as we head into Lacombe. And Shane is going to defend the position here from Daz for the time being as we head into Lacombe as well. So Nick has come out. He's up into Nick has had a very up and down start to this race here. He was battling for 4th place, made a mistake, dropped down to 6th place, got back up into 5th place, again re-engaged at a battle for 4th place, had a moment, went all the way down to the back of the pack, started climbing back up the pack, and then of course now the pit stop sequence has happened, and now he's currently sitting in 10th position. So he has been a little bit everywhere here so far in this field early on in this race, just getting a feel for what it feels like to be in every position of the racetrack. Just good team information available there for the team, you know. We got Mr. SPS here in 12th place, and we got Jack making a little mistake there, going extremely wide through Puan there, but he keeps it underneath of him, he keeps it moving in a forward direction. And we're going to see Slipstream up to pit, or are we going to see Slipstream go again? Nope, he is going to pit. You can see the big dive into pit lane, and we're just going to jump on Blue Racer here, and that will give the race lead back to ERA Blue Racer. Whew. Good morning, North America. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome in. For just tuning in, we have 24 hours of action for everybody here. Normally, we would see these live broadcasts over on the IRO YouTube channel, so we definitely need to keep our eyes on that IRO YouTube channel. Some of the broadcasts will be over there today, and all the broadcasts for the stints that I'll be covering here at GT45 Gaming will be done over on my YouTube channel here today. A little bit of a complicated process here this weekend, but just so the viewers know, there's going to be we do apologize. We really deeply apologize on behalf of the International Racing Organization and the streaming team for a little bit of jumping around that the viewers will need to do, but sometimes that's just the way things go. It's Christmas season, it's the holiday season, and a lot of people are very busy, so we're on a little bit of a skeleton crew here in the broadcast booth for this weekend, so we do apologize. All right, so things are settling down here now, but Shane is starting to make some moves here. I mean, Shane has defended off Daz's charge and obviously getting very comfortable in the drying conditions with that BMW, and this is probably where I would imagine some of these cars are going to start to get much stronger now, as they're not having to battle those difficult racing conditions. It's starting to get into normal racing conditions and drying conditions here now, so we're going to see some of these drivers' paces change a little bit here. It's going to create some more battles early on in this race, so it's going to be a juicy race today. I can feel it in my bones. Afternoon from South Africa. Welcome in all the way from South Africa. We love to see people coming in from all over the world. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Got Daz here. Nick is 2.7 seconds in behind in 9th place, but Daz is trying to put some pressure on Banana Josh here as well for that 7th position. And we still got a little bit of a pack here in the mid-pack. Things are starting to space out just a tiny little bit here now as the race is starting to settle in. We're 34 minutes into our 24-hour event here today and tomorrow. And it's been a good one. Ooh, what a great start to the race. What a great start. Love it when that happens. Nick here in 9th place, and like I said, this driver has had a very up and down stint here today in the race start here. He's got a very long ways to go. He's still got about 90 minutes before we're going to see some driver swaps kicking into play here. We've got Adriano in 10th position. We've got Mr. SBS in the Mercedes here in 11th position, and Slipstream down in 12th after making that pit stop, and Jack here in 13th. Now there is a little bit of gaps here in between the drivers, but it could be much worse. So I'm not sure what happened to Blue Racer here, but we've got a big change up in the race lead here. Down into 3rd place is Blue Racer, so that tells me there was most certainly a racing slick versus wet racetrack moment, most likely. Maybe there was a battle ensuing and one of the drivers had to take a compromised line, and that forced that driver to make a mistake. Very hard to say because unfortunately we missed it, but Jown now 8.9 seconds up the road, and history repeats itself here. You don't want to give Team ORT a whole lot of opportunity to build a big gap, so it is now Macho's job to continue to close that gap and continue to try and apply distant pressure from the ORT BMW up ahead. 9 seconds is the gap. We're going to keep an eye on that. Blue Racer here Oh, big damage on this race car. Absolutely had a moment here on the racetrack. Has picked up some damage for sure on this race car, and that is definitely going to alter the performance of the 77 GTR. So now there's a big decision to be made here. He's got X amount of fuel on board. He's got a fresh set of tires, and he's just picked up some damage on the car. Does he bring the car in, have the crew fix it, and continue on and take the loss, or does he continue to try and nurse his car around until the next scheduled pit stop and deal with the problem then? I guess it's a risk versus reward for him here at this point, and I'm sure that he's on that team radio discussing this matter with that team right now. So we're going to sit on board here with him for a moment. 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Love it. Love it. He's going to go around again, so I guess the call is see how it feels. So that means Lucas, Shane, Daz, Nick, finalized. Nick and Adriano. Oh, we got a battle going on back here. Let's go check this. Alright, so we got Nick up into 7th position. Got ahead of finalized. Adriano was right there battling with Nick. That's what prompted me to come over and change the view. I seen this name swapping in the live timing there, so let's see what's happening here. But maybe a little mistake made by Adriano there, and he's going to get the job done around finalized there. And a little flash of the headlights there from finalized, and signaling something to the driver. They do communicate with each other with their headlights at times on the racetrack. Sometimes say thank you or my bad, or go around, or you'll see a signal light going on to prompt the driver to go on that side of the race car. We're going to see Mr. SPS now take a look up the inside here on finalized, and he's going to get the job done. So finalized must have had a moment on the racetrack here as well. Also sitting on the racetrack currently with a little bit of damage on their race car. So some of our drivers having some struggles on the racetrack here in the wet to drying conditions. They've obviously all stopped and made a change of tires. And we did say that you really had to be on point when you get on to racing slicks in the wet, semi-wet conditions still. I mean, there's still 30% moisture on the racetrack in certain parts of the racetrack here as well. You can see on the moisture, I can see on the moisture meter here anyways, so the track is not fully dry by any stretch. And that's an interesting strategy right there. Slipstream opting to run into the wet line in the straight and then settle back into the dry line for the corner. Now, that's interesting because if we think about that for a minute, when you're using wet tires or intermediate tires, the key to keeping the tire life under those tires is obviously to have water on the tires, keep them at a cooler temperature. In Gran Turismo 7, tire temperatures are a thing. Now, for those of us that play the game or race and are unaware, tire temperatures definitely make a difference in the game. There is a tire temperature fluctuation. So you can have cold tires, you can have optimum racing condition tires at optimum range grip temperature, and then you can have tires that get too warm. And depending on the state of your tires in the game will also depend on traction levels, how the car responds to inputs like braking and acceleration, and also turn-ins and well, basically everything that you need your tires to hold the race car to the track. So it matters. So it's interesting to me because I feel like that on the racing slicks, sometimes they seem to get overheated for just running your laps, right? Because, I mean, that's what tires do on a racetrack. They get warm, they expand. So I feel like that was a bid to try and just maintain a tire temperature in those racing tires. That was very interesting to see. So Lucas has managed his way around Blue Racer, and I do believe that the longer that we see these drivers with damage on their race cars, especially any driver that incurs a aerodynamic type of damage, is definitely going to suffer overall lap time per lap around the racetrack, just due to the nature of SPA. SPA is a high-speed track, has a lot of high mid-speed corners, and then it has a couple hard braking zones, but for the most part it is a lot of high speed around this racetrack, and these GT3 cars rely heavily on front and rear aero to keep the car's acceleration obviously as quickly as it can be, and also to help it turn in to corners and make corners as quickly as possible. So that aerodynamic package on these GT3 cars is very important to the performance of these GT3 cars. And when you have a wounded GT3 car, it definitely affects the performance of the GT3 car, and that can cause a plethora of problems, especially as you continue to elongate the stint. The damage can affect the car in different ways. The more wore down your tires get, the more lighter the car gets on fuel. The changing track conditions can even change the car under damage as well quite dramatically. So Blue Racer's in tough right now. He's definitely in tough right now, and you can see Shane's going to get the job done here heading in towards the chicane. Goes on the outside, gets it done into the braking zone, and now he's got Daz right on his rear bumper here underneath that rear spoiler, looking to gain that position as well. So a little bit of trouble here for Blue Racer here right now. And it's a tough call to have to make as a racer and a team in a very long distance race like this, whether or not you're going to make the extra pit, take the pit loss time, or just kind of bite the bullet and minimize the time loss on the repair in your next scheduled pit stop. So unfortunately for Blue Racer here, you can definitely see that bit of damage he has is affecting his race car a little bit here, and he's under fire from another GTR here, and you can just see the difference between the two cars. Just the acceleration point is just a little bit better than the car that he just passed there. So Daz coming into Lacombe there, he's going to try and close that gap back up on Shane. He's trying to get around Blue Racer as quickly as he could, so he could try to start to close that gap back up to the driver in front to start re-engage that battle again. And now we got Nick closing in here, back up into 7th place from, where was it, 10th place there after the pit stops. Slowly but surely starting to pick his way back up through the field here. He's got 2.8 seconds to Blue Racer and 4 seconds to Adriano in behind. Mr. SBS is tucked right in behind Adriano there, and Adriano is just struggling a little bit here behind the wheel of his BMW, it seems like today. He's really seems to be on the corner exits where we're seeing a lot of the struggle here in this BMW today currently. Maybe it's just a setup, maybe it's just the way that he's driving the car, maybe he's just a little over driving the car right now. It's hard to say, but it seems a little bit untypical of this driver in particular. But sometimes the track conditions just don't play nice, and that's again just cause and effect of still the outside of that racetrack is still wet, and the drivers are aware of it. But sometimes you get into the heat of battle, and you just slightly let that mental note dissipate enough to not think about it. And I think that's what we're seeing from Adriano. I think he's just trying to take the ultimate perfect line around every corner, and some of those exits are still a little bit juicy with water, and I think it's just causing him to break that traction on exit. Now of course that's costing him time right now on the racetrack, but Mr. SBS is taking full advantage of that, and he's just going to sit right in behind there. We got Slipstream in 10th position. We've got Banana Josh here in 11th place. We've got Finalized in 12th position, and we got Jack here in 13th. So some of our drivers that have had damage since the pit stops have sorted out that damage, and some drivers have opted to just tough it out. And is that going to make a difference over the next 23 and a bit hours? Hard to say. There's a lot of racing left. Again, it's this time of year at Spa where inclement weather is most certainly an issue. It will be very unpredictable weather. We're going to see a mixture of drying conditions like we have currently on the racetrack, and we're definitely going to see a mixture of very dangerous conditions like we've seen at the start of the race where the track is very wet. Spa is famous for its crazy weather at the 24 hours of Spa. So, I mean, really, the racers are not expecting anything less. All right, there we go. We've got Blue Racer here. Again, just toughing it out here right now. Made a mistake early on after that pit stop here, and has a wounded race car currently. And Nick is right on his rear bumper. He's going to look up the inside, heading into Poo on there. And Blue Racer's not fighting these battles right now. He understands the situation that he's stuck in at the moment here, and just gives lots of room to Nick there to make a clean, quick pass. Hopefully not to cost either drivers too much time. And ideally, if he wants to try and stay as close to Nick as he can for as long as he can, use that slipstream to help him get up the racetrack a little bit quicker than he can on his own at the moment. So we'll see how long he can stick him behind that Corvette. But now he's got Adriano and Mr. SBS starting to track in behind here as well, a couple seconds back. So definitely some tough racing here right now for Blue Racer in that GTR. But when you get these inclement weather races like this, I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen. You are not out till the checkered flag waves. That's just the way it is. Or you got a race car in pieces, I guess, on your trailer. I suppose that's the other way, but that, fortunately for us, we don't deal with that here at Gran Turismo 7. So, as long as we got an internet connection, we should see the car on the racetrack. All right, Mr. SBS here in 9th, and Slipstream here in 10th. Alright, how's the game audio now, everybody? I haven't heard anybody mention it back to it here in a little bit. I'm looking at it, it's definitely louder, so that's good. Alright, let's go see what we can see here. We got our race leader with a 6.2 second gap. Appreciate you, Ray. I'll give you some mod privileges before I end this stream race, so when we do the big stint later on in the race there, you can do your thing, pin your comments for the league, whatever you want, whatever you need to do. We got Macho here in 2nd position. So I did say when we seen Blue Racer, we didn't see the mistake, but we seen that he had lost a couple of positions and assumed that he had a mistake, which is the case. We said that Macho now has the job of not allowing the ORT Lexus, haha, I said it right this time, not continue to build a gap. Now, throughout the season, the ORT team has been very strong when they get in a race lead at building roughly to about a 20-30 second gap, and then really just kind of managing that gap for the whole duration of the race, and that's brought them some very good podiums throughout this season. So they're in that same position here again, and the field is more than well aware that if we let these guys get ahead and start building that gap, then it is going to be a long day of trying to get that race lead from them guys. So Macho is tasked with trying to continue to apply what I like to call distant pressure from a distance. The team is relaying this information to the driver in first place. Okay, you know, he closed in 0.4 of a second that lap. He's slowly but surely closing in. He's got slightly better pace than you right now. So you know that information is being transferred to the driver, and it's also the same thing for Macho. So Macho, okay, I'm on pace from gaining on him. Let's keep rolling with this, right? So now it's become a game. So we're at 6 seconds. Let's see where the gap is in another 2, 3, 4 laps between these two drivers. Is Macho continuing to charge up and continue to apply that pressure to the race leader and not allowing them to build a big gap, which is what the field needs? Or are they going to step up their game in a race lead and add a few more seconds to that gap and then continue to do that maintenance? That's definitely the question I have here right now, and that's just based off of the past races this season. So the field right now really has the task of not allowing Jown to open the gap up, and hopefully Macho can continue to do what he's doing here. He's doing a great job of closing that up. It was 9 seconds flat. Last time we checked, he's got it down currently to 5.7 seconds. So he's doing a great job there in second place. I can do that while I'm live, actually. There we go. You should have some proofs now, Ray. You should have some proofs now. Make sure I get the right screen back up here. All right. So Lucas here in third place. Lucas started, let's see if I can remember where everybody started here. Jown started in second position. Fourth position. I can't remember. But currently in the race lead. Macho was our pole sitter, currently sitting in second place. He didn't get a great start in the wet conditions, but he definitely seems to be turning the pace up here now under the drying conditions. Lucas started in fifth. He's currently sitting in third place. MRL Shane started somewhere in the mid-pack, so he's having a pretty good race right now in the early part here. He's got himself currently up in the fourth place, so BMWs are starting to heat up a little bit here on the racetrack. We've got Daz here in 5th place. He has started moving up the grid since the track has started to dry as well. And well, then there's Nick. I mean, he's quick. He's a very efficient race car driver. That's very evident here today. He's been as high up as a battle for 4th place and as low as last place a couple of different times here in this race today. So now he's got his way back up into 6th position, and he's definitely using knowledge, experience, skill to make his way through the field there. But Dirty Air definitely caught him out there as he goes wide into Rouge and Radion, and he's going to only see a half-second penalty there. So he's very fortunate they only stuck him with half there, because he technically broke 2 track limits there. So the officials being generous there to Nick and only serving him with a half-second penalty. But that's definitely going to slow down that charge now to the Daz and the GTR. So Adriano here in 7th place. He got 3.3 seconds in behind Nick. That time will drop a little bit when Nick serves that penalty. Nick will probably lose about 3/4 of a second to a second off that penalty, based off of where that penalty serving zone is. Mr. SBS here in 8th place is still right there now. He was sitting right in behind Adriano, and Adriano slowly but surely been trying to build that gap to break the slipstream from Mr. SBS, and he just had it broken there for a moment, but a little mistake there again, and that allows Mr. SBS to close right back in there. And again, slipstream just pulling that Mercedes right back into the BMW there, and it is a battle back on here between these two. Might not necessarily be a battle in a sense, but they could just be working together to continue to try and close in on Nick in 6th place, which is always a possibility as well. You're not always battling for a position necessarily when you're racing an opponent on the racetrack. Sometimes you develop a truce for a while on a racetrack so both drivers can essentially achieve an extra position out of the deal. So it should be interesting. All right, so we got Slipstream here in 10th position. We've got Banana Josh here in 11th place. We've got Jack in 12th place from Team AHR. And finalized here in 13th position. We did have 14 that started. We had Shadow Chef here in the Corvette as well, but unfortunately for him, some issues, and car is currently behind the wall. Should see them back though once they get that all fixed up. All right, so we got Macho closing the gap, 4.9 seconds. He's doing a great job of closing in on the ORT Lexus up in the race lead right now. He again had pole. They had the fastest qualifying time in the qualifying session yesterday morning. So they made it through the first stage of qualifying and into the Super Pole qualifying. And from there took the top spot. So not an easy task. There's a lot of very, very, very fast race car drivers in this series, and congratulations to them for that pole position as well. So he's trying to get back up to where they started the race here, and he's doing a great job of tracking down our current race leader. Kind of keeping an eye on this and that right now. For the most part, there's not a whole lot more going on. Mr. SBS and Adriano are close enough together definitely to have a battle, but I don't think that's what they're up to. I really do believe that they are just trying to work together to continue to push the gaps closer together so they can battle for more positions up ahead of them. I think it's a little bit of a truce on the track right now between Mr. SBS and Adriano, but there's no truce here. Nick probably feels like he could be in a better position at this point in time, and I think that Nick's focus and goal here is to get that Corvette back into the best position he can before he hands it over to the next driver in the team. So Nick is on a tear right now, without a question of a doubt. And we're going to see the move. We are going to see side by side as we head up into Blochemont here. And Nick does have the position. A little bit of a touch there, a little bit of door banging there. Daz flashing the headlights a little bit there, maybe feeling like Nick might have forced him out a little bit wide there. I'm not sure exactly. But he's going to go ahead and jump into pit lane there anyways, and a half-second penalty to go with it too. So insult to injury there for Daz as he goes in, but he was definitely due for a pit stop there based off of what I could see. So that was going to happen either way. All right, so our race leader, Jown, here, 4.9 seconds up the road from Macho Monkey, who has started to close a 9-second gap since they've made their first set of pit stops from the wet tires to the racing tires. Lucas is currently 20.2 seconds in behind our race leaders, but does have himself in that final podium position here in the early goings of this race. So we're almost 1 hour into the 24 hours, and the race is starting to settle down a little bit. So Nick now in 4th position with that pit stop from Daz. We've got Adriano here in 5th and Mr. SBS still in tow. I mean, there is definitely no battling happening here between these two. I feel like if Mr. SBS felt like he wanted the position, he would battle for it. I know the driver from other championship series, and he's very, very fast race car driver himself as well. So it's not the fact I don't think that he couldn't pass Adriano if he didn't really want to try. I just really honestly think these two are working together right now to try and close the gap up to the race leaders. Smart play. Early race, make friends while you can, because as things start to get down to the nitty-gritty in the last dying hours of the race, friendships become enemies, and there's no more playing nice, right? So make your friends while you can in the early parts of these long distance races, because it could potentially benefit both teams at the end of the day. Well, you know what you need to do, Jay? You need to get all the bosses and all the guys at work just to throw IRO up on the big screen, and the day gets that much better. I mean, what else can we say? IRO on the big screen at work, man. Make it happen. All right, 5-second gap between our race leader Zhao and Macho. Not much has changed there. Lucas is doing his thing. He's in no man's land right now in 3rd place. Not the worst place to be in. Settle in very now into the rhythm of their stints are each of these drivers. We see Blue Racer now into pit lane, and that is probably going to be a fantastic thing for him and a fantastic feeling. He had that damage on the race car. Now that he is in pit lane and they're going to attend to that damage, it is going to be a full front nose replacement for the GTR of Blue Racer. He suffered a pretty good hit to the front end and definitely had a injured race car in the last half hour of racing here. So I'm sure he is going to be quite happy to have a new piece of carbon fiber on the front end of that race car, and that car biting the way that he expects it to, hopefully. So Slipstream back up into 7th place here, and another driver that was struggling, it seemed like, in that wet conditions, starting to find the rhythm here now in the dry conditions. I mean, there's no moisture showing up anywhere on the moisture meter as these drivers are dipping on the curbings and stuff like that around the racetrack. So the track is most certainly much drier than it was at the start of the race. Daz here comes out in 8th place after their pit stop. Shane, after their pit stop, just in behind there in 9th. They pit a lap before Daz, actually, and Daz jumped them in pit lane. So most likely a matter of fuel percentage that went into the cars there to make the difference. We got Blue Racer comes out in 10th place. So now we're going to keep our eye on Blue Racer. Clearly has the pace here today to push up through the field like Nick has. So we're going to be keeping our eye on the GTR here. He keeps it clean and out of trouble here for the remainder of the stint. He may be able to get that car back up a couple positions here on the racetrack yet, and maybe get it back somewhere towards contention before he hands it over to the next teammate as well. Finalized in 12th position here in Banana Josh here in 13th, and we just had a BOP change as well a couple weeks ago here in GT7 as well. With the last major monthly update, they did make a high-speed BOP change, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that SPA falls into that BOP setup, which means that every one of these race cars potentially have had something changed for this particular race as far as their balance or performance setup goes. So much like real life racing, IMSA, GTEC, and all the great GT racing organizations worldwide, they have the same deal. In order to keep each of the manufactured cars equal with the rest of the cars, because they're all so different, they have different engine styles, they have different aspiration setups, they have different displacements, different Everything's just different. You know, the Lexus is not the same as the BMW. The BMW is not the same as the Corvette. The Corvette's not the same as the GTR. The GTR is not the same as the McLaren. The McLaren is not the same as the Renault. They're all different cars. So balance of performance is done by really, really smart people, race engineers, and their job basically all season long is to take all the information. So nowadays in racing, the GT cars and pretty much all the racing organizations out there that are what we consider sanctioned racing bodies, they have these sticks that go into the cars, and at the end of the race, these sticks get taken by race control or race officials, and that telemetry and all that footage and all that data gets reviewed by the racing engineers. They're the guys behind the scenes making the decisions on what these guys can and can't do with these race cars. And the objective for those racing engineers is to try and balance each of the cars so they're as equal as possible, so that all the manufacturers have an equal and fair opportunity at winning the championship ultimately. It's no different in Gran Turismo 7. They have real people, smart people, doing exactly the same thing I was just talking about for Gran Turismo racing. So our cars, when we use the balanced performance system, Gran Turismo racing engineers try to develop a balanced performance system that keeps all the manufacturers as equal as possible. Now, it's not perfect, we all know that, but slowly but surely it is getting better and better. But with that being said, we just seen one of those changes a couple weeks ago with the last update, and some of these cars have been affected. So that could change how quick the car is. It could have slowed the car down. It could have made the car harder to turn. It could have made it better to turn. It could have made it less stable, more stable. It's entirely hard to say what kind of changes depending on the car. Some cars were not touched at all, like the GTR, for example. Now, the reason why I know about the GTR is because that is the car that we're slated to drive in this series as a reserve team from Ten Tenths Racing, and the car suffered absolutely zero change at all. So the GTR is exactly what you expect it to be still, and there are, I think, a handful of GT3 cars that did not actually see any balanced performance changes, but most of the cars seen a change either to the negative or to the positive. If I remember correctly, the Corvette was untouched. I think the Mercedes got a little bit of an increase, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty much all the mid-rear engine cars got a boost or an update, so the Renault got a little bit of an increase. So you would expect with the increase, you would see a little more top end coming out of the car. I'm not exactly sure without looking at the chart per se. But again, you know, the GTR untouched, so these guys know exactly what to expect. But one of the biggest changes in the GT3 cars does come in the McLaren. The McLaren got a massive buff in this last balance performance update, and I was testing the McLaren recently, I think a few days ago, because I was curious. And it's a little rocket ship. It does pretty well. I had it on Monza, which is a high-speed track, typically not a track that the McLaren excels at. Due to the fact that the McLaren just does not have top end compared to majority of the field in his class. They seem to have attended to that situation. Now, whether or not it's still competitive in an equal sense, I'm really unsure, but the car definitely felt quicker, and it definitely felt like my lap times around Monza, for example, were faster than I would have ever anticipated coming from that particular car. So the McLaren definitely seen a pretty large increase in its balance performance. Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, Mr. SBS, let's talk about Mr. SBS here for a second. You're right, he is just a young man. He is a very young man. He's a very talented young man, and if I'm not mistaken, he is one of the top drivers currently in Norway when it comes to sim racing in GT7. If I'm not mistaken as well, based off of what I do know about this gentleman from the other league that I know him from, he would potentially be sitting on the world stage this weekend himself in Amsterdam as we do our 24 hours here racing, but due to the fact that he doesn't meet the age requirement, he's just not eligible yet. This young man is a future talent in sim racing and the GT7 sport, and we will see this young man on GT7 world stage, I definitely believe that at some point here as soon as he becomes eligible. So he is a very talented young man. He's a very quick driver. He's very smart. He makes good racing decisions. And, I mean, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for this young man. So, huge shout out to Mr. SBS. I just happen to know a little bit extra about this driver. So, but you're right. He's just a young man in the chat, and he's accomplished a lot already at a very, very young age in his sim racing career. So, you know, it's drivers like Mr. SBS that could end up in a position like, we're going to throw some names out here for a second. Jimmy Broadbent, Super GT, for example. You know, you start in the video game world and you could end up in a real life race car racing for a real team on Spa, maybe even doing the 24 hours of Spa himself in real life at some point. You know, the possibilities could be endless for this young man. So depends obviously what he wants to do with his life and what his goals are, but very talented, very, very talented young man. Slipstream here, a very talented racer himself as well. You know, I'm starting to develop a good relationship with Sector 7 Racing through other leagues and organizations we're racing in, and just stuff like that. And you know, they're a great group, they're a great organization, they're very efficient, they're very quick, and these guys practice hard. There isn't a moment in this race that these guys aren't anticipating, and that I can almost promise. We got Shane here in 8th place. He's been having a good race too. He's right there in the mid-pack right now. He was as high as 4th place at one point, but he just recently made a pit stop, so that's got him back in 8th place right now. Daz here in 9th place as well. Again, he was as high up as 4th place at one point. Blue Racer was as high up as the race lead. Had an unfortunate moment at about the 30-minute mark, give or take, and that set him back a little bit. The team had toughed it out with some damage, and that cost him a little bit of time on the racetrack. So now he's got a little bit of time to make up. 15 seconds to 9th place there. And Daz in the other GTR. Oh, well, we got Dad in chat. Well, look at that. I had no idea. He's a very talented young man. Finalized here in 11th place. We've got Banana Josh here in 12th position. And, oh, sorry, Jack. Got to give the man some love here because that's what we do. For AHR here in 13th position. And you know what? Just a tough start. Just a tough start in the rain. Some of the drivers, the rain kind of set him back on the back foot a little bit here as well. So we've got Jown here in the Lexus. He's got a 3.9 second gap over Macho Monkey in the BMW chasing in behind. That gap was 9 seconds when they got off the rain tires onto the dry tires. And Macho's been doing a great job at just picking away little bits and pieces at a time. Throughout this last 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes here since they took those racing tires. So Macho here in 2nd place, and you can see as they come around to what will be the finish line of the race, which is right here as they come down. That is where the race will finish here today. It's 4 seconds, so he's cut that down 5 seconds here over the last 20-25 minutes. So it's a good slow push towards the race front there. Oh, appreciate you guys. We try to give shout outs to everybody that we can, and as you know, the brain works its processing information. We got Lucas here, and a member of my own community as well, Lucas, so I know quite a bit about that driver, coming in for a pit stop from 3rd place there. So it is going to be Nick here now coming across here, and we know this guy's a talented racer. He's proven that already here today. He's been, like I said, now as high up as 3rd place and as low as last place. So he's had some moments on the racetrack that have set him back, and he's just continues to use this experience and pace he has to crawl right back up into the battle, into the fight here. So Adriano here in 4th place, and Mr. SBS is still chilling. He's just, you know, sitting right in behind. He's keeping a very in my opinion, design gap between himself and Adriano in front as well. Now, dirty air is a factor in this game as well. So when you're tucked in behind a race car, it's not so bad. But the moment that car just breaks that bubble slightly, moves left or right, and puts you in slightly clean air and still in behind them, that causes problems for the car in behind. It can affect the aerodynamic force. It'll force the car to push out wide on the exit. It won't want to turn in properly. So A couple of the things to negate that is find a comfortable gap behind the driver that you're chasing through the technical sectors of the racetrack, like Mr. SBS is doing here right now, and that allows you to still hit where you want your points to be, and it doesn't force you to have to A, overdrive your car or change the way you're driving it, or B, is if you want to sit tighter in on behind the driver that you're chasing, you need to just turn in before they do when you're tucked in real tight. So if he was tucked in right underneath the rear wing, for example, of Adriano, you would probably see him turn in maybe a half second sooner than Adriano would, and that would also help negate what we like to call dirty air that allows the car just to make the turn exactly how he expects it to. You still need to manage your exit because the car will still want to push way wide out on the exit. But I mean, like I said, these guys are all very talented racers. They know exactly what's going on, and I only know all of this stuff because I've been very fortunate to broadcast very talented racers for a very long time now. Just a game glitch. I'm not exactly sure. Liveries sometimes just don't load. Normally you see that in replays, though. You usually don't see it on a live race in real time like we have here today. So not exactly sure why they're not fully showing up, but hopefully when we come back in stint 4, I believe it is, hopefully they all show up on the screen. It's just a game thing. Not much we can do about it sometimes. I do apologize. I love seeing the liveries as well. It also helps me identify which team and which car and which driver I'm talking about without necessarily having to look at the name list in the screen as well. So it's a little bit of a bother for me as well too. But I just like to see the paint, you know. And the guys and gals here in the sim racing community are super creative. These cars look amazing. You know, you see a lot of really good retro replica style liveries. You see a lot of great original designs and just clean, crisp, and they look like race cars. And I love to see them. I just love to see it. So 3.7 seconds now, the gap between Jown and Macho. And I mean, this man is just absolutely pushing as hard as he can here. I mean, he can see him now. All right, let's jump on board. Let's jump on board. We haven't been on board with one of our drivers yet here today. So let's jump on board here with Macho. Normally I would do this with the race leader, but currently this is the fastest man on the racetrack right now. He's got a 2:16.7 as a fast lap on the board, and I said that without even looking at the fast lap. He's just the fastest man on the racetrack right now. He's closing in on the race leader, and he can see him up there. He can see him there, so I mean, if you need any more incentive as a race car driver to find that extra couple tenths a lap, seeing the rear bumper of the race leader is a pretty good incentive. But with that being said, you also got to be careful to make sure that you don't overdrive your car either, trying to close that gap up. You know, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. What he's doing is working. Doesn't need to change it. It's a 24-hour race. Checkered flag isn't going to happen anytime soon. Continue just to do exactly what he's doing. Don't miss your break points. Get everything just right. Stay nice and consistent. He is super consistent right now here in the race today as well. So looking good. He's looking real good. It's a lot of fun, Tom. It's a lot of fun. What is up, cars? How you doing? So welcome in, everybody. We are here at Spa, and we're just on board with our second place driver. We see Nick coming into pit lane here now from what would have been third place, so that will give Adriano to third place here now, and we're going to start seeing a pit stop sequence happening here. We're about that point in the race now where fuel is getting low in these cars and tires are starting to wear down, so we're going to definitely see a pit stops happening here from the drivers. But the big question is now, as I'm sitting on board with Macho here as he tries to chase down Jown, it does start to appear like it's getting a little bit hazy off in the distance. It seems like that sunshine has disappeared, and it kind of looks like we got a thin layer of clouds starting to form back over our track here. So are we going to see some more rain before the end of our first driver stint here today? That's the bigger question. All right, let's keep looking here. Neither one of the BMW liveries are showing up either. That's sad. Adriano here in third place after, of course, Nick making that pit stop. Got Mr. SBS still in tow, right in behind here. 1.2 seconds to gap here now. Half-second penalty there. That's probably not ideal for Mr. SBS there. He's in a comfortable spot. He's managing a comfortable gap to the driver in front right now. Probably saving a little bit of fuel and tire while he's in behind there. I mean, that's what I'd be doing if I was that driver in Mr. SBS's position at the moment. And that will give him a pit advantage at the end of the day if you think about it. So smart. That's some smart racing right there. We got Slipstream here. He started in third place, got a really big race start there, jumped immediately into second place, and then the car just didn't seem to handle that range very well in the early part. He kind of fell down the order, but now we've got him back sitting in fifth place here. So you can never count this particular group of drivers out here from Sector 7. I just they are very, very efficient, and like I said, they practice a lot. They do a lot of full stint practices, and it's a very good chance that there isn't any part of this race that they aren't anticipating. Obviously, things happen that you just don't expect, but as far as weather changes, track changes, stuff like that goes, I would imagine that they are definitely on game with what to expect from the race here today. Executing is always a different story, but having a game plan is definitely half the battle. As a team owner myself, trying to prepare a team for a race of this endeavor is not an easy task. It takes dozens and dozens of hours of practice from all the racers, information transfer, discussions, trying to help each other refine maybe a corner they're struggling with, or a different shifting point in the car, or a brake bias change. There's so many different things that are going on to prepare for a 24-hour race that it literally takes a huge team. It's not just the racers on track too, as well. In these races, there's race engineers in behind the scenes. There's live race spotters in behind the scenes. There is at any given time, typically in these team chats during these driver stints, which are 2 hours per driver, mandated by our rule book here at IRO. That part of it is 90% of your race. The other 10% is the drivers behind the wheel executing it. So I mean that's the part that we get to enjoy as viewers and broadcasters, obviously. But preparing for these races, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of discussion and a lot of information transfer, and this is not what we do for our jobs in real life, so this is not our main focus either, right? So a lot of us have jobs, we have families, and this is our hobby. And the preparedness for these races really is key, and it's clear and evident, and especially the top half of our standings here at IRO coming into our finale here, which we'll get on the stream a little bit later here today. We'll have some other visuals for everybody to check out, and just kind of so everybody can see where everything's at, where the standings are, where the point separations are, all that kind of stuff. We'll get that stuff up on the stream for everybody a little bit later here in the broadcast mid part of the race. But the top 6-7 teams here in the series, you can tell that their preparedness has just been a little bit more on point than maybe some of the other teams. The drivers, again, are part of that, obviously. We have drivers of very high skill level with these racing teams, and then we have drivers that are our typical pro-am and even amateur drivers filling in, stepping in, and taking the role of these races too as well from these teams. So it really is a joint effort from all these racing teams involved, and Sector 7 is just a very, very efficient team when it comes to that part of the planning of any race. It doesn't matter if it's 24 hours or it's just a 30-minute sprint. Sector 7's on point, needless to say. Got a big community here. It's hard to know everything about everybody, but a weather check. At race menu? Sure. We can go do a weather check. Alright. We got a request of a weather check here, so we're just going to bring that weather up for everybody. And the big thing is are we going to see moisture? It does appear that the cloud layer is very thin. And we can see that front that just passed the rain track there, the track there as well, so. There's no rain coming anywhere in the distance there, and we got 40 minutes left in the stint, so maybe. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen very quickly. Yeah, always, guys. We'll give shout-outs to everybody here throughout our day today. Some teams I just need to reach out to get a little bit more base information off of, because I don't necessarily know I don't know that much about necessarily every team involved, but we try our best. We definitely try to pay attention to the drivers, the communities, the teams involved as much as we can as a broadcaster, because the more information that I have, obviously just the better information I can provide to the viewers and everybody watching at home or work or wherever it is that we're all hanging out from. Yeah, of course, Dig. Alright, so Mr. SBS has come into pit lane here, so he has opted to come in, change his tires. I guess the bigger question is, now, I figured he would pit when Adriano pit there, because it seemed like they were working together, but, you know, like I said, these teams have their strategies, they have their plans, and as long as everything goes to planned, typically those don't get changed too much, especially in the early part of the race. You know, if we're within 6 hours left of the race, maybe that strategy would be a little more of an audible strategy at that point, but I think this is just a scheduled pit stop here from Mr. SBS, and maybe he thinks he's got enough fuel saved sitting in behind Adriano for the last half hour that he'll jump him with an undercut. So we'll have to wait and see how they pair up after Adriano makes a pit stop here. Alright, so Blue Racer is half a second in behind Mr. SBS right now after his pit stop. So we're actually going to see Blue Racer go ahead and make the move on Mr. SBS. Now, Mr. SBS is coming out on cold tires. He's still got to get that car back up to race pace, and he's got to get it back into a comfortable position here, where Blue Racer's been out for a bit here, and his car is in that comfortable position. So that was a pretty easy pass there for Blue Racer. But again, Mr. SBS is just going to sit in behind here and either apply pressure and repass once the car gets into a more optimal racing condition, or he'll just sit in behind and chill. I guess it depends on the pace of the GTR in front. We've got Macho coming into pit lane here, so our second place driver now coming in for a pit stop here. We're just going to see that crew at work here real quick. You can see the fuel man doing their thing. So the race leader here now has a wide open racetrack here for a predetermined amount of time. And I guess the bigger question is when is the ORT Lexus now going to make that pit stop? They obviously are aware now that Macho has made a pit stop. I'm sure that's being communicated via team radio. And typically in this situation, when a driver's attempting an undercut style strategy, we'll probably see the race leader come in the next lap around. Typically at that point after that, you're not really, you just start to lose, because the driver behind is now warming up tires, and they're on a fresh compound of tires, and they're probably putting down faster lap times than you are. So I guess, do we see Jown pit now, or are we going to see him go around again? I suspect we're going to see a pit stop happen this time around, because again, just the rule of thumb with racing, and the more experienced teams and racers know that when you got a driver trying to undercut you, the longer you stay out over that driver, the more potential you have to give free time away, especially when your pit stop sequence is very similar. It would be different obviously if Jown had more left to his car currently than he did when Adriano pit, or sorry, Macho pit. So we see exactly what I suspect. We do see the race leader coming in to make that pit stop. I guess, what is Adriano going to do here now? Is Adriano going to go around again, hold the race lead here for a lap, and then come into pit, or are we going to see Adriano make a pit stop? Because his car is nearing about a point where he's about due for a pit stop here as well. And then that leaves Macho in behind, 2.6 seconds back, and closing relatively quickly here. He's taking pretty good chunks of time out of Adriano up in front of him here as they head up in towards Blois-Chaumont. I suspect we'll see a pit here. Yeah, he's taking a very short entry here. We are going to see Adriano move into pit lane. So that should give... We'll see. We'll see if it gives Macho the race lead here. It depends on the fuel that Jown is taking. Jown just coming up pit lane there now. So let's see what the gap is here. Once we hit some live timing between first and second place. So Jown is out of pit lane, and the gap is coming down. Looks like it's going to be about 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6. Still coming down. Adriano now coming in, now in pit lane. Looks like it's going to settle in right about that 5-second mark here. So actually lost a little bit of time to the race leader there in that pit stop. About a second and a half compared to the gap between the two of them before the pit stop. Slipstream here from Sector 7 Racing, one of two teams in the race here today, I believe. Currently sitting in third place, we've got Lucas here from one of the Race Asylum competitive teams sitting in fourth position and sitting on a half-second penalty at the moment. We've got Shane here in fifth place as well, and doing real good here. Sitting right up in the top end of the mid-pack right now. Has started, I think, 8th place, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look. I can't remember. We've got Nick in 6th place currently, and about where Nick started at the beginning of the race here. We've got Daz in the GTR, the 09, sitting in 7th position, and we're starting to see a little bit of gap starting to develop, but I mean, not huge. It's 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, gaps that can definitely be closed between these drivers for sure, but I guess it depends on the driver you're chasing and the pace of that driver as well, but gaps can definitely be closed. We got Mr. SBS and Blue Racer here in 9th and 10th position. And they're about 3 seconds in behind Adriano here. So I guess the bigger question for me is, because we were curious to see what the gap between Mr. SBS and Adriano was once the pit stops kind of filtered through, was Mr. SBS going to be able to jump ahead of Adriano? Because I assumed that he was saving fuel while sitting in behind Adriano, but Mr. SBS got passed by Blue Racer after his pit stop and just kind of decided to either sit in behind Blue Racer, or Blue Racer just has a little bit better pace. I'm not exactly sure. If he's just sitting in behind Blue Racer, I question whether or not the pace of Blue Racer was quick enough than what Mr. SBS would be putting down by himself, and would Mr. SBS be in a closer position to Adriano if he didn't sit in behind Blue Racer over the last half a dozen laps here between the two pit stops of Mr. SBS and Adriano. So that's just a question I sit with in my head right now. But again, long race, very long race. Strategy is key in these races, and you're not going to win it now. We're not going to win it here for about this time, and tomorrow is when we'll be talking about seeing a checkered flag. So a long ways to go. And the McLarens here, they were doing fantastic in the wet conditions. The two McLarens were up in 5th or 6th and 7th at one point, 7th and 8th in the wet conditions, and the track dried out. They jumped onto some racing slicks. Both McLarens had a little bit of a moment. Both had to make an extra pit stop, and that set them back a little tiny bit. So some of the drivers, like I said, are just slightly on the back foot. Jack is our furthest driver behind, and about a minute 40 behind the race leader. Now, it's 2 minutes 16 to 2 minute 20 lap around spa, depending on the tire you're on, and the driver behind the wheel of the car. So a minute 40, I mean, you're behind, but you're not really that far behind. You're still not lapped yet at that point. On most racetracks, at a minute 40 behind, you're looking at being a lap down at this point. So definitely lots of race left for all of these racers yet as well. We got Macho here in second place. The gap is 4.6, so Macho's right back to business as usual here, trying to close down the gap a little bit to Jown. The big important thing here is not to let that gap grow, right, but to at least maintain it where it is. 5 seconds, again, is not that big of a gap. A small mistake made by the race leader at 5 seconds where the car gets sideways or he has a half spin, that gap is gone. It's a battle at that point. Minute 41. Minute 41. I was just there. We'll go take another look. Minute 42. Minute 42, good sir. Had a little bit of a tough race start in the wet. The Corvette, obviously now in the dry, he's been maintaining really good, nice, good, consistent pace in that Corvette in the dry conditions. But wet conditions were definitely tough for some of our drivers to start this race, and now just playing a little bit of catch-up. And I think about a half dozen of our drivers have had to make an extra damage pit stop as well. I'm not for sure because I haven't been able to see every one of them, but I definitely saw some cars with damage after they went from wet to medium tires. So a couple of mistakes made on the racetrack, but that's pretty normal. We got Lucas here in fourth place. Gap is 13.8 seconds to Slipstream. Slipstream is 15 seconds to second in place. A little bit of work to do here for third and fourth place if they want to try and press the issue here a little bit. For Slipstream if he wants to press the issue to get into the higher end of the podium, and B for Lucas to get back onto the podium. So Lucas has been as high as third place here in the race and as low as sixth or seventh place, I believe, early on in the race. So a lot of the drivers are right around in their starting areas for the most part. Blue Racer is a little bit down here right now, but again, one of those drivers that suffered some damage in the early part of the race decided not to pit to fix the damage and just deal with the lap loss instead, and that probably worked out better for the team in the long run, because I think it was only about a 30-minute run before the scheduled pit stops, so they probably only lost about 30 seconds time as opposed to a minute pit time here at Spa. It's one of the longer pit stops in the game, so you definitely don't want to be wasting them. Appreciate you, Sam. Appreciate you, my guy. Mr. SBS, cool, calm, collected this young man is. You know, he's not forcing anything here in this stint. He's just looking to have a good race start here for his team. He's got good pace. He's just chilling, keeping the car in good condition. A big part of endurance racing, especially long distance endurance racing, pardon me, like we see here today, is keeping the car in good condition over the 24 hours. That is a big part of it. Obviously these teams come prepared with lots of spare parts and lots of front clips and rear clips and spoilers and all these things that make the car stick to the racetrack, but 24 hours is hard on the teams, it's hard on the machinery, it's hard on the tools, it's hard on the racetrack, but definitely wears down these cars. After a 24-hour race, I would fully assume that these cars are probably tore down and rebuilt, just due to the sheer wear and tear on the engine alone. But I could be wrong. I don't know that for sure. It's just an assumption, speculation, whatever you want to call it. Slipstream in third place, 18-second gap. 12 seconds in behind him is Lucas in fourth place in the second Lexus on the racetrack here. We've got Nick up into fifth place in that Corvette, Race Asylum Corvette that is, and doing what Nick does, just continuing to put miles ahead and then trying to do them as quickly as he can. And now he is up into fifth place here, and he's got 7.2 seconds to Lucas and the Lexus up ahead, and trying to keep the charge of MRL Shane in sixth place off here too as well, who's only 3/4 of a second in behind, just sitting right on the tail edge of that slipstream. And then we've got Adriano in seventh place, 1.5 seconds in behind Shane here. So let's stick with this little 3-car pack here. This is the nearest thing we have to a battle right now. We do have Adriano or Daz and company in behind, and I'm just going to go take a quick look there because I'm seeing a couple of extra arrows in around where Mr. SBS and Blue Racer are, and that extra arrow is Daz in 8th place here. So the teamwork here from Mr. SBS and Blue Racer is starting to pay off as they have tracked down 8th place. All right, fantastic. We got a couple of little mini packs to keep our eye on here now. We love it. All right, so Nick, Shane, and Adriano through 2 BMWs and a Corvette here as we head around La Source on lap 40 in our race. So at 53 laps per stint, we're looking at 52 racing laps per stint over 12 stints. That is going to be 624 potential laps around our 24 hours of Spa here today. What that relates to in miles and all that other stuff, well, we'll figure that out in between stints, but 624 projected racing laps here today. Whew, it's a long day. All right, Adriano gets a good run coming up the Kemmel Straight into Lacombe here. He gets a look as he heads into the second part of Lacombe there, but does not quite have the run to get the position. And this is good for Nick. Nick can continue to try and open that gap up right now to these 2 BMWs while these 2 BMWs try to sort 7th and 6th place out here. But Adriano does not look like he wants to work together here. I think Adriano wants to get around Shane here and try to track ERA's Nick down, and Shane is going to go semi-defensive there and does not leave quite enough room for Adriano to feel comfortable putting his nose in there, and that was a hard defense right there from Shane, and Shane is feeling the pressure from Adriano, so it is battle on, and this is a 2-car battle for 6th place here right now. We're keeping our eye on that backpack too as they come around the racetrack here in behind these 2, but right now this is definitely getting some action brewing there, and Adriano is just settled in behind here now, and I guess the next question is, where is his next plan of attack here? Is it going to be heading into Blochemont, or is it going to be at the end of Blochemont heading into the chicane that we see maybe Adriano try to re-engage a pass here? But we've seen Shane go quite defensive in the last opportunity to be passed, so I assume we're going to see much of the same thing from Shane here. We're probably going to see him stick to the... I expect to see him defend that a lot harder than he actually did there. So Adriano's going to take a wide entry, look for the big run on the exit there, get the run on Shane, and he most certainly does exactly that. Side by side here as we head into La Source. Shane still has the inside position, should have the advantage into La Source. Wide corner, lots of run out room, and we're going to look for the over-under, and very well executed there by Adriano. A little bit of throttle slide there from Shane, and contacted the 2 drivers, and we're going to go side by side as we head down to a Rouge here, and Adriano is just going to edge Shane out as we head up Eau Rouge into Lorette-Dion. But what do I see here? Is that rain I saw? I thought I seen a little drop there. We are starting to see some cloud cover coming back in off in the distance there when we're looking in behind the racers heading up the Kemmel Straight there. So it could have just been a frame drop I seen. Sometimes that is the case. All right, let's go take a quick look here. 3.7 seconds is that gap. Nick is closing in on Lucas, and Adriano we just seen get the job done on Shane. So let's now get up into this battle. Blue Racer has made his way around Daz. Mr. SBS is now going to take a look down into Brussels there. He does have a nose in there. I don't quite think that Daz was aware that he was there. I think he was probably in a blind spot, but job done there. Mr. SBS navigates around quickly and gets right settled back in behind Blue Racer, and Mr. SBS move up into 7th and 8th place, and Daz falls down a couple of spots there into 9th place. But if he can get back on it here, get into that tow, I mean, it's a free train up to 6th place potentially. Not an easy task, as that's Shane up there. Ooh, a half-second penalty there for Shane. No, that's not going to be ideal, but the gap currently 10 seconds to that next 3-car pack, and behind a Blue Racer, Mr. SBS, and Daz. Slipstream is in 10th position. Recent pit stop looks like made there, which has put them down from, I believe it was 3rd place at one point there. They did have the race lead for a little bit there as well. Pit strategy, playing some pit strategy. We got Jack here in 12th place, and we got Banana Josh here in 13th position. So there we go. Jack is up a position here now. And I think that was just a scheduled pit stop there for Banana Josh and Team McLaren. I do believe that that was just normal and par for the course, and that's just where he ended up when he came out of the pit lane. Like I said, it is almost a minute pit stop here. So, oh, you know what? Don't worry about it, Deering. You just do what you do, my man. You're a racer. That's all you need to be a commentator, my man. You understand the sport. That's it. Just, do what your brain tells you to do, my man. Just do what your brain tells you to do. I'm built differently than most people. Yeah. I put a lot of effort and work into my craft, no matter what my craft may be, whether it be commentating or my real life job. It doesn't seem to matter much. It's just how I am. I'm a OCD, really high OCD person, and everything has to be to perfection. And I'm just used to talking a lot. I've done this for a long time now. All right, Nick up in 4th place here, and it seems to be the trouble position for ERA's Nick here at this Corvette in this first driver stint here today, without a question of a doubt. It has been a very up and down kind of race here for Nick, but Adriano is starting to apply some pressure here. I mean, the clouds are coming in. I mean, the track is getting extremely cloudy very quickly. It is very evident here that the weather is changing once again. The wind has picked up slightly as well, I've noticed over the last couple of laps. We may see some weather coming in here. Will there be subtitles? We're going to stick with this here between Adriano and Nick. Adriano has been closing the gap up on Nick here while we're watching that battle between Blue Racer, Mr. SPS, and Daz. And in that time, we have seen Adriano close in on Nick. And again, with that really wide entry coming from Adriano, and it seems to be paying him really good dividends on the exit coming out of the final corner heading into La Source. But that Corvette is just such a straight line monster on any racetrack. It is just a beast at a corner exit. It is so hard to outdrive that Corvette. So, I mean, Adriano is really going to have to use all the bag of skills he has to battle Nick here, because Nick himself is no slouch either in behind the wheel of that Corvette. Ooh, a little bit wide there. Short coming up into Lauredion there, and we'll see if they penalize him for that or not. It looked like it was clean enough, and they're not going to penalize him. He would have got that penalty by now, but 48 seconds is the gap to the race leader here from Nick right now, so you can see there's definitely been some trouble for the drivers in behind. Basically, the second place, 40-second gap here from Lucas to Macho as well. So Lucas is starting to feel a little bit of pressure here between from Nick and Adriano here as well. Lucas ideally wants these two to battle for this position right now as we're nearing the end of this driver stint, so he can bring that car ideally into pit lane and turn it over to the next teammate in 3rd position. But Nick and Adriano seem to be tracking him down here. Shane lost the pace of Adriano and Nick fairly quickly here. 6.2 seconds now in behind, and kind of a no man's land at the moment. I mean, 6.3 and 8.2, not the worst place to be near the end of the stint. No pressure means no forced mistakes. Really just needs to focus on hitting his marks, trying to maintain that pace and do his thing. But now Mr. SBS has turned up the heat. He's decided that he's checking out. He's like, nope, okay, I've had enough. I think I've got the pace on these guys. I'm just going to ditch. And he's now made his way around Blue Racer and very quickly opened up a 2.2 second gap on Blue Racer there as well. So Mr. SBS has decided it is time to make some time. Slipstream just navigating around Blue Racer there, and we're going to go take a look at that pass in just a moment. Just going to see if we're going to see a response from Blue Racer here coming into the chicane, and Blue Racer gets a little bit wide there, and I just don't think he's got the car underneath of him that the Sector 7 Renault has right now, and there's not going to be a response, but we are most certainly going to go take a look at that pass as we come out through campus and head right in towards the Paul Freire curve here. He gets a good run, so Slipstream's just in the slip there, just trying to gain that free speed out of that toe, and there it is. He gets a huge run out of the Paul Frere curve there and gets the job done before they even head into Blois-Chamont. That was a great drive there from the Renault 4 position and up into 8th position. Again, track is looking a little hazy here though. Let's keep going through our field here. Let's go see our drivers. We've got Finalized in 10th position here now. So Finalized starting to make up some ground here again on the track as well. 27 seconds in behind Blue Racer currently, but has gotten ahead of Daz, who has made a pit stop here. All right, so that's where Daz went. He did make a pit stop after getting past there by Blue Racer and Mr. SBS, and very, very limited amount of fuel it looked like he took there, but a fresh set of tires for him. Jack coming in here as well, which should give Banana Josh P12 back as he comes around. So this will be officially the first time we see our race leader Jown catch up to one of the drivers in the pack here. So Jown will pass Team AHR here while they're in pit lane and put them officially a lap down here in the race. Got Macho here in second position, 3.9 seconds. He's done a good job to close the gap up, but he hasn't actually been able to catch up to Jown. So he's been always chipping away at that time gap, but he just cannot get close enough. So again, the ORT team just has enough pace right now, currently in that Lexus up in front, to not allow Macho to get any closer than what seems to be about that 3-second range is what we're seeing right now. Lucas here in third place, a big gap to first and second, but he's only got 2.6 seconds to Nick and Adriano here, and these two have been not really battling it out here for this position. I think the teams probably came on the radio and been like, you guys are closing in on the third place here. Maybe just sit tight on this for a minute. Might be a better battle lurking. Or just Nick has turned up the heat and Adriano made a little mistake and has just fallen off the pace slightly and he needs to catch back up. I'm not sure what's going on back there, but definitely a little bit of gap between them all now. But Nick is definitely pushing to try and close in on that Lexus. And we're on lap 45 of 53, so there is time for Nick to potentially close in on Lucas, but there's also time for Adriano to close back in on Nick and create a little wrench in the program for Nick as well and start battling for P4. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays down. How is Nick fourth in this car? You'll have to ask him, James. I'm not sure, my man. You'll have to ask him, brother. I suspect you probably won't get that information until after the race, though. But you never know. Shane here in sixth position, 4.3 seconds ahead of Sector 7 Slipstream in the Renault. Slipstream, oh, skip Slipstream there. I'm just going to skip him apparently, you know. Camera guy just didn't want to give any love to the Renault, I guess. A minute behind the race leader currently is 7th place, but only 3.6 seconds in behind the BMW. So Slipstream now trying to close up any bit of time gap that he can here before the end of this driver's stint. But he has Mr. SBS starting to try and close in here. Now, I guess the bigger question is, does Slipstream just get around Mr. SBS? Mr. SBS is trying to keep pace with Slipstream, or is Mr. SBS closing in on Slipstream? We'll have to we'll wait to see. Blue Racer is 6.2 seconds in behind Mr. SBS, and I'm not sure if he's got enough car underneath of him to get the rest of the distance here without having to stop again. We'll have to wait and see. He may have opted to stop just a smidge too early potentially, based off what I'm saying, but we'll wait and see. Finalized here in 10th place. You start to feel the pressure from Daz here, though. Daz is on fresher tires, so and is going to navigate that quite easily there. And that was a pretty good pass right there as we head in towards Blois-Chamont. And nice, tidy, clean, tight pass there from Daz over Finalize. Finalize leaving him just the amount of room he needed. And no harm, no foul there. No drivers lose the time there. And they're going to continue on moving and grooving up the racetrack. So Banana Josh here in 12th place. And Jack here about 18 seconds in behind. So it is closing that gap up to Banana Josh, actually. I believe it was 27 seconds a little while ago. So about 10 seconds torn out of that gap there. Macho 4.1 seconds, so Jown starting to open the gap back up to second place. But let's stick here. This is kind of what I expected to start seeing here over the next few laps was Lucas trying to hold the charge of Nick off, Nick trying to hold the charge of Adriano off. So we're at that point where we're within a second between Nick and Lucas, and we're about 1.2, maybe 1.5 between Adriano and Nick right now without actually going to look at the timing. So we're going to stick with this here just for a moment as Nick is trying to close the gap up here on Lucas and Adriano. Much of the same thing here. So, again, we've been seeing that exit mistake from Adriano a lot here in this stint, and I feel like he's just shed so many tenths of seconds making that small little mistake in different corners here that he quite possibly could be in a much better position than where he is right now. But that's racing, right? I mean, that's how it goes.
Ignore the fuel light thing on the screen. I mean, all the drivers are obviously low fuel at this point because
we're about 10 minutes away from the end of the stint here. But
it's just a game glitch, much like deliveries not showing up right now. It's very frustrating. Half the deliveries are not on the screen here in our first stint, which is just really unfortunate.
So we do have Shane coming into pit lane here and has come out on, I'm not sure what the pit service was for. Oh, he's just coming into pit lane. Okay. Got Daz here in 10th place. We'll grab that position from Shane with that pit stop. Finalized may also grab that position with that pit stop. Banana Josh won't get that position, but it will definitely get him closer. Well, get used to GT45 Gaming today, ladies and gentlemen. We got literally, we're gonna leave commentary here. We're gonna literally jump halfway across the world to the U.S. to go do another 2-hour stint for another endurance league, and then we got a small little window to get our butts back to Spa and continue our journey with the amazing viewers here at IRO for about a 6-hour run in the middle of the race here. So, all right, let's stick with it. Lucas starting to feel the pressure. Half a second is the gap here. Nick closing in very quickly. Adriano still about 1.2, 1.5. Just chilling back there. Not sure if he's just chilling back there waiting to see what's going to happen up here, or if he's just can't quite close Nick in. A little bit of a exit slide there from Lucas. That's just going to cost him a little bit more time. And
yeah, right? Yeah. Nick's just an alien. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
But battle on. I mean, Nick is closing in. He's right there. He's not quite in striking distance, but he's there. He's in attack mode, right on the rear bumper of that Lexus, and now that's going to bring Adriano into the mix here. Adriano now allowed to close up that free time as well, and this is a 3-way battle developing here for third place as we near the end of our first 2-hour stint here. So Lucas is under fire, gets it a little bit wide there. Nick's going to take that short exit, get the run on him. Can he get charged down the hill now into a Rouge? It is side by side. Lucas is just going to tuck right in behind Nick, so Nick is going to get the job done here, find himself up into third position, and not a lot of fight there from Lucas. You can see Nick flash the lights at Lucas there to say thanks, mate, appreciate the room and respect. And Lucas finds himself now in 4th place, trying to stay tucked right in behind Nick. The goal here now for Lucas is to not lose Nick, not give up another position to Adriano if possible, and go into pit lane with these 3 cars basically nose to tail. I think that's ultimately the best plan here right now for the 54 Lexus, but Adriano has been tracking here as well, so Nick has got the job done. He's gotten around Lucas 36. Now Adriano is going to be looking to do the same thing, because Adriano, keeping in mind, was tracking down Nick, which means he's definitely got some pace, which means he has been a little bit quicker than Lucas and the Lexus here over the last few laps as well. So we're not going to leave this battle here. We're going to stick with this here, as Lucas is now defending for 4th place here as we near the end. Get ready for our driver swaps. Adriano's going to take a look up the inside into Pouon there, and again, not a ton of fight there from Lucas. He's, again, racing decisions are key during these races, and that's just a racer's decision right there. I could fight this, I could defend it, I could hold these guys up for 2, 3, 4, maybe half a lap. What's it going to cost at the end of the day? Give it to him. There's nothing to lose here. We're almost at pit lane. Stick with these guys. Deal with it when we got the next driver out and a whole new set of tires, fuel, new stint. Let the next driver deal with the situation, right? So Lucas's goal right now is literally just trying to stick with these 2 guys. So Nick is gone. Adriano 1.4 seconds in behind Nick there, about where that gap was, so he didn't really lose too much there. And Lucas just sitting right there in the slipstream now, tucked in behind that BMW. Not a terrible place to be, but now we've got slipstream coming into the picture here as well. He's 5 seconds in behind Lucas there in 5th place. So some different strategies coming from some of these teams up in the top half of the field here, and it has closed them up quite tightly in the latter part of this race. Mr. SPS 5.8 seconds in behind this here as well, up in 7th place. It's completely lost Blue Racer at this point. 12 seconds ahead now, has opened up that gap. So Mr. SPS was patient for as long as he needed to be, or felt he needed to be, and has turned up the heat since. Shane in 9th place here, 16-second gap right now to Blue Racer up ahead, and Daz is 2.7 seconds in behind and trying to close back into MRL Shane. Finalized here in 11th place in that McLaren, has about 44-second gap up to 10th place here right now, but again, a lot of racing left to go here yet. Got you Banana Josh here in 12th position, is a lap down now currently on the racetrack here, and so is Jack. So not too bad the first 2 hours. We only got a couple of our drivers falling a little bit behind here, but again, these are 2 drivers that had a little bit of early race struggles in the wet conditions and then the wet to drying conditions. So lots of race left to make that time up. Any one of these drivers can make that exact same mistake at any given time on this racetrack, especially with the inclement weather that we will see throughout the day. So Jown in the race lead, Macho doing a great job trying to keep that gap as minimal as possible here. 3.9 seconds is that gap. And Nick here now trying to close back in. So the couple of mistakes made by Nick here, having to fight back through and battle back through the field here, has cost him about 50 seconds overall here to first and second place. Now I guess the bigger question is can the Corvette start to chew that gap down? Adriano and Lucas still nose to tail here, and again Lucas just sitting in behind Adriano here, absolutely just giving him some push here. Lucas is not scared to work with other racers based on racing situations, and when he feels it's time to work together, he's really efficient at it as well. So Lucas is in a comfortable spot here right now as well, tucked right tight in behind Adriano, but he does need to start worrying about the Sector 7 Renault here, which has absolutely just closed in, and with only less than a handful of laps remaining before we go to the driver swaps here, Slipstream is looking to gain that position here as he closes in on Lucas and Adriano. Battle on. Lots of great battles this stint. Great job to the racers here so far in the first 2 hours of this race. They have really not left us wanting action. They have really been giving us a good little battle here throughout every part of this race, no matter which driver it seems to be. So 1.1 seconds is the gap here from Slipstream to Lucas. We got Mr. SBS there, 6.6 seconds back. There's not much really going on in the back half of the field right now. They're all a little spread out. So we're just going to stick with Slipstream here as he continues to track down Lucas and Adriano. So looking for 2 positions here potentially before he brings out Renault in to hand it over to the next teammate. He's going to take a nice tight line into Brussels there. That's just going to close that gap up even more. And wow, he got such a good run there. A little bit of contact made there. Lucas was inside of Adriano there, and then Adriano got hit by Lucas and pushed a little wide there as well. So really great run there from Slipstream going into Brussels there, but a little bit of contact made between the 3 cars there, and well, that's why we have race officials. They can sort all that out. We're just here to entertain. Alright, we are going to go take another look though, because you know we tagged it. Alright, so he did get a good run. Obviously there's a little bit of lag. That's very evident. You can see it on the screen. I'm just trying to see what happened between Lucas and Mr. SBS there. I think Lucas just got inside of Adriano. Sorry, not Mr. SBS there a little bit. And I think that's what caused Slipstream there to close in quicker than I think he expected. And I mean, at that point, your car's there. You got to try and just get it around the corner as safely as possible. So that was definitely a bottle and accordion effect situation. There were 3 guys battling for position late in the stint there, and Slipstream is going to move up to 4th. Lucas is in 5th. Mr. SBS now is going to take advantage of that and actually find himself up into 6th place as Adriano has fallen down into 7th place here. And ooh, interesting. All right, we are seeing some of these guys with some very tough conditions underneath of them right now as we're getting near the end of this stint here. So you can see it's getting quite foggy on the racetrack here near the end of the stint as well. And whether or not that's going to start to produce some weather, I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But we will stay with you guys here up until the drivers come into pit lane, and then I got to bounce fairly quickly. But the next broadcast will be, I believe, over at the IRO YouTube channel for the next 2-hour stint, everybody. And then we'll be back in stint 4, I believe it is. Alright, so Macho looks like just gotten around finalizer, so I think finalized now, just falling a lap down here at the end of this driver stint there. We've got Nick here in 3rd place and not gaining time on the race leaders here. He's losing just a little bit. It was 55, now it's 58, so race leaders are definitely on a different pace level here in this first stint than the rest of the field currently. We've got Slipstream here. He's 6.9 seconds in behind Nick and tracking. You can see the time coming down here. He's still got a couple of laps to knock that time down. We could potentially see that gap come down even maybe upwards of 5 seconds before these see the drivers start to come into pit lane here. We've got Lucas 2.7 seconds in behind Slipstream. I mean, Slipstream is gone. I mean, it was inevitable based off of what I can see that Slipstream was eventually going to navigate around those drivers. It was just a chaotic way that it all happened because of the situation at hand. Adriano here in 7th place, and this is going to be a very tough run here for Adriano here now. He's going to be in a little bit of trouble here. You can see Shane is closing in here, and we're going to just sit with Shane here because I do suspect that he is going to get this position away from Adriano here before we come into the pits. Always appreciate it, guys. We'll be back. I apologize, it's not over on the IRO channel this weekend. Something on my end preventing me from being able to put it over there, so. And there we go, Shane does get the job done there as we head in towards Blanchimont. It wasn't contested at all there by Adriano. Again, very tough conditions there for Adriano right now. He's suffering some very heavy tire degradation at the moment and is now just trying to salvage the remaining of this stint at this point, but he's got Daz and Blue Racer coming in behind now, and these guys are going to close in quite quickly here, so let's just sit with Daz here as he starts to track down Adriano here. And I mean, Adriano he's just in a tough spot. He's just got to get that thing around safely right now and hand it over to his teammate. I understand why he's not coming into pit lane right now to adjust the situation he's dealt with. Obviously, the pit loss is not going to be shorter to hand the loss. He's just going to toughen it out in the condition he's got the car in right now, but he's going to lose a couple positions in the process. You can see Daz there. He's just going to take the easy pass on the outside, and it's going to be an easy pass here for Daz as well, so doesn't need to worry about that too much. And we've got Jown coming in here. Oh, our race leader is getting ready to hand that BMW over, and he is on 0% fuel. You want to talk about calculating your strategy to perfection? There you go. So Jown is coming into his pit box here, and we will hand this over to his teammate, which is now live on the IRO channel, everybody. All right, so we got Macho here coming in. He's going to hand his car over. We got Nick to be the next driver in. He's got about a minute in behind our race leaders. So those drivers will now take some tires, take some fuel, get out of the cars, hand it over to their next teammate, and we'll continue on with Deering on the mic. Lexus. You're right. I'm gonna struggle with that all day, I can tell. I'm gonna have to like beat Lexus into my brain. ORT is in Lexus, not BMW Ghost. Slipstream coming in. 9.4 seconds in behind Nick. We got Lucas coming in, 1.7 seconds. Mr. SPS was right in behind Lucas there. So we're going to see 4th, 5th, and 6th place come out very close to each other here in these driver swaps. We got Shane now coming in. He's going to bring his BMW over, get it to his pit box, and prepare that car for his teammate. We got Blue Racer battling it out with Adriano here, and this is an interesting battle here between both these drivers. Both drivers with very similar conditioned race cars at the moment. So this is an interesting battle. Both drivers are struggling to get those things around the corners, and it is going to be Blue Racer coming into pit lane just ahead of Adriano. Finalize now is coming around the corner here. Finalize will be the next one to bring that car in and pass it on over. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back in a couple hours time. And as soon as we get our drivers in, I am going to shut the stream down very quickly as I've got another race I've got to get to ASAP. All right, Banana Josh coming around here now. Oh. Was Finalized on the lead lap there? Oh, he was. My apologies. I thought Finalized got past there, but he did not. Oh, okay. They're bringing everybody in. Oh, I like this. Okay, I got you. Appreciate you guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, all drivers are in. The drivers will now be jumping into their cars from their teammates, be handing them over new tires, some fuel, and head over to the IRO YouTube channel, International Racing Organization. Just go into YouTube and type at IRO, I believe it is, and it should pop right up, and we'll see you all in a few hours. We appreciate y'all. We hope you all enjoyed the start of our 24-hour event here at Spa Francorchamps, and lots of racing left to go, so settle in, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be a wild ride. Thank you on behalf of GT45 Gaming, and we'll see you all very soon.